Welcome back to Encountering Jesus Through Signs, Miracles, and Wonders. So this whole channel is going to be dedicated to basically deepening your relationship with the Lord through signs, miracles, and wonders, which is like healing, deliverance, prophecy, hearing God's voice. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth between topics. And this particular topic today, because I've already kind of discussed deliverance, I want to discuss healing because they kind of go hand in hand together. So we have the power to heal through Jesus because Jesus was a healer, and through him we have that same power to heal too. So I always had to start with the Bible. So especially throughout the Gospels, but especially in Matthew and Mark, you'll see Jesus performing miracles. You'll see him healing, and you'll see him doing deliverance, casting out demons. So Matthew 8, he heals a man of leprosy, heals a centurion servant, he heals Peter's mother-in-law. And then we jump to the verse Matthew 8:16, where Jesus heals all the sick, it says. And then more healings in Matthew 9. And then at the end of Matthew 9, what Jesus says in Matthew 9 is basically that the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And so right after he says that, we go to Matthew 10, where Jesus then gives his disciples the power, the authority to cast out demons, heal the sick, and disease. So Jesus, who's the healer, distributes his power to his disciples. So they also now have the authority to go ahead and heal the sick and cast out demons. And we are the disciples of Christ, so we have that power. Now let's fast forward to Acts. So Acts 2 is the day of Pentecost, which is basically where the Holy Spirit comes and he dwells within all the believers. After Jesus' resurrection, the Holy Spirit then comes. Like he says, I'm leaving, but I'm giving you a helper. His helper was the Holy Spirit. So Acts 2, we see the baptism of the Holy Spirit on the day of Pentecost, which is basically us being filled with the Holy Spirit. And then in Acts 3, you see Peter is healing the cripple. Acts 5, the apostles heal many. And you're like saying, well, I'm not an apostle. That doesn't apply to me. Well, let's go to Acts 6:8. And this talks about Stephen. Stephen was not mentioned as a disciple. He wasn't one of the original 12, but it talks here in Acts 6:8. Now Stephen, a man full of God's grace and power, did great wonders and miracles, miraculous signs among the people. So yes, you are an apostle, you are a disciple, and you're wondering, well, what makes me a disciple? What makes me have this ability to go ahead and heal and cast out demons? So let's go back to define what is a disciple, because Jesus gave the authority to his disciples. So how do you know if you're a disciple? So a disciple is a dedicated follower of Jesus. So if you're a dedicated follower of Jesus, you are a disciple, meaning they are learning and following the lifestyle of Jesus. They're trying to live how Jesus lived. So if you are a disciple, you have the gifts. Jesus gave his disciples the gifts. And more Bible verses to go ahead and support this is Matthew 28:18, where Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples. So what did Jesus tell his disciples to do? Go make more disciples. He didn't just say, you 12 are chosen. He said, no, I'm going to make more. So he gave his disciples, Jesus was doing it. He was making his disciples. Then he told his disciples, go out and make more disciples. So what do? He said, therefore, go and make disciples. Baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach them how to follow me, teach them how to walk like me, and obey me. Obey what I say. Obey my commandments I gave you. Then we go down to Mark. Mark 16:15 through 19 says, what does he tell his disciples to do? Go preach the good news. Okay, go preach Jesus. He says, believe. Go believe. And also go be baptized. And what's the next thing he says? He says, signs accompany those who believe. So if you believe in Jesus, the signs, the miracles, the wonders, they should be following you. They should accompany you. What does he say next? In my name, they will cast out demons. They will speak in tongues and they will heal the sick. So clearly, if you are a disciple of Jesus, you are living for Jesus. You are living like Jesus. You are doing your best to portray a Jesus, okay? And then the next thing is, what are you doing? You have the gifts following you. It clearly says that in Mark 28:18 and in Mark 16:15 through 19, that you're not only supposed to preach the good news, but you're supposed to go out there and believe, be baptized, and these signs, these miracles, these wonders will follow you. You'll be able to impact the world. You will be able to bring heaven to earth. That's what Jesus wants. He wants us to bring heaven to earth. So if you are a disciple of Jesus, you have the authority. Jesus has granted you the authority. and he's granted you the power of the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit now lives in you. You're a disciple. You've been baptized with the Holy Spirit. And an example of this is something that I'm working on, is like making sure that I am, operating in the gifts, And I went to Upper Room Church in Dallas, and I remember one sermon. Well, it wasn't the whole sermon, but it was part of the sermon that they mentioned. Is they mentioned this lady that it took her 100 times before she can heal the blind, and then she was healing the blind. And the point of this is, just because you try now and you say, I'm going to heal you, it might take you 100 times before you actually are walking in authority. So don't get discouraged if you're like, hey, I'm going to try to go out and heal someone and they don't get healed right away. The story that I heard up in Upper Room in Dallas, what they said at that church, Upper Room, located in Dallas, is that they gave an example of a lady. She wasn't able to heal the blind until like the 100th time, and then she was able to go around and actually heal the blind. So it might take you time to walk in that authority, and you have to believe, faith over